Uh-oh.
Oh, no, there's the charm. The crash down as well. It's a dead Gragas. It's going to take a little bit of time. And now Faker is caught onto Kiin. Lands the Shuriken. And he's going to wait for the leap strike. There's the backstage Q. And that's Faker's Akalia World, ladies and gentlemen. But now you can see they make their way in. The paranoia comes down. Decent little utilization of the counter-strike. But Faker's going to get on the go. On takeover. Means Kiin is dead at the same time. It took a little while. But I think they're just going to move through and win Game 3.
It's no use denying the T1 magic. When it's at Worlds, it keeps happening. When in the last game, Gen G tried to remind them what happens in the LCK, they snap back and tell them what usually happens at international tournaments, and especially at Worlds. And we find Faker and T1 to be the first to match point. I mean, sometimes when I watch this game and I watch T1 at Worlds, I just think, how did they do it? Because this was a shellacking in Game 3.
Well, they did start out with getting Oner on Vi instead of Kindred. I think that was a really good one. Blue side was big.
Yeah, I do want to go through some of the drafts in the series because we talked about, okay, you know, Gen G were really tested by FlyQuest to do something like super, super creative. But here, especially in this last game, we see them returning to this kind of combo here, which we saw from them. This is kind of the skeleton of that Aurora and Twitch composition that we saw them bring out against HLE. I actually really loved the Twitch ban here. I thought that was smart. And then to your point, Kobe, I think this is great. I think Vi is such a good champion for Oner, but the big pick for me, the Ashe for Gumayusi. I think that has been stellar, and then the Gragas.
I think it's also been a really cool swap up for what Keria traditionally plays. Like Renata, Braum have been the two picks that he's gone towards. It is consistently, I know that Gen G only have one style. They are going to play dive. They are going to jump in on us because that's what we've seen from them every single time. And T1 are basically saying, hey, yeah, we'll catch you with a Renata. We'll try and set up with the Braum, which didn't work as well. But it is countering what Gen G have brought to the table every time. And Gen G do not have an answer for what T1 are bringing.
And mainly also, it seems like they are getting more questions thrown at them, maybe even from their own decision-making. Because let's look at a sequence of play, right? In Grubs and at the Grubs, and then also in the mid lane. I did not know, or I did not. If you took the nameplates off, I wouldn't believe you that this was Gen G.
So T1 are way more coordinated than Gen G were in this game. Like it's undoubted, and honestly, like Gen G, they're the ones to set this up, but why isn't Canyon ulting earlier on Nocturne to try and lock Faker's teleport out? They also don't teleport Chovy in very early. And so T1, another really good engage for them, turning around. But it did feel like really weird to see Gen G be the ones that are so uncoordinated.
But also here, like Lehends getting caught as they try to go underneath the tower. This reminds me of like Game 1 against FlyQuest, where Lehends tries to engage on towards quad in the mid lane. Seraphine ulted, completely shut down. These over-aggressions and just not being in position as they try to take these plays. It's really strange because this is not what we would usually see from Gen G domestically.
And by contrast, here you see the coordination from T1, not just in team fights, but they know exactly where they want to go on the map. They use these grubs so well. I did call them out in the last game for being like, why are you fighting over that 6th grub, right? You've already got 5, you guys are fine. But they've been so well coordinated on these like 4 or sometimes 5-man pushes with grubs onto turrets, rotating around the map. You could see it in that sequence. They knew exactly where they wanted to go. They moved as a unit, and it's fantastic.
And they're showing style here at Worlds too. Faker was like, Knight, I see you on the Apollo yesterday. I'm going to do it as well. Like, the magic is really there. We'll see again as we switch back to blue side. But it really has been like difference in play.
It has. I mean, and things like Lehends, right, who we know is very good at macro, who calls a lot of the moves of Gen G, generally the one to be out of position. A big discussion that we've had here backstage is, for me, there's a difference between ADCs in terms of Guma and Peyz, in that I believe in Guma and in that bot lane, even from behind or from even, not just from ahead. And even though Peyz has done things to dispel that in summer, right, Emily? Outside of the finals, I don't know. You know, when he's... And here he had an opportunity, right, if they scale further into that game. But then it's him who gets caught out again. And I don't want to put everything on him because the whole team lost that game, right? But it is these differences that you need to look to make.
But I think that's the thing. It's like pressure makes diamonds, right? And unfortunately, when we look at finals in LCK, Peyz didn't step up. And then you look at the game against FlyQuest, it feels like, you know, Hanwha kind of found the issues in Gen G. FlyQuest managed to crack it, and it feels like T1 are finally breaking those foundations here where you're not getting the big performers. They're not finding Chovy these lane matchups where he can be super successful and take over in the mid to late game. You're not having your carries perform, and now T1 are saying, no, we're going to go to the style that's worked for us. We take over in the early game. We play through our side lanes well. We get these cheeky Baron sneaks when you're least expecting it. It feels like T1 are still playing to their identity on an international stage, whereas Gen G feel like they've just lost themselves because those doubts have started to sink in.
Yeah, and I want to pull up Gen G's record over T1 in the LCK and internationals, because I think it makes T1's performance here so much more impressive, right? They are the 4th seed. They are 1 game against KT away from not making it. And here you see MSI 2023 highlighted. We had already set it up in one of our prior thing. I think it was you, Dagda, that said that, where they got the better of them at an international event at a very crucial moment. And now they're on match point once again, now at Worlds, defending their world title.
It all hangs in the balance again for Chovy, you know. I wrote down under Gen G in my preparation as a logline, if this team can't win Worlds, who can, right? But I feel like in the course of the tournament, we've seen other teams perhaps adapt better. And I think for me, that's what they're going to have to show. In the same vein, though, I'm not ready to write this one off because we haven't seen a team break the red side situation yet, right? So T1 would have to do it here. Yeah,
I mean, if they can't, then T1 or BLG can, that's for sure.
The adaptations are proactively being taken away by T1. Smolder, gone. The draft is already set up where T1 go, we know what you are like. We know Gen G inside and out. We know what they're going to fall back to, and they're stopping them every step of the way. T1 are in their heads, and I don't know if Gen G have a comeback here.
And all year, we've been talking, or I mean, I know I've been talking about Knight versus Chovy, right? Like, we want to see this matchup. We saw it at MSI finally. This was going to be our destined world final, but in the way stands FLICKR, and this is a rerun of that Chovy quote where he, again, would know this more than anyone because he's had to deal with it domestically. Now he has to really step up, prove himself against FLICKR to make it to finals.
Chovy has to step up. Gen G as a whole has to step up, and we have seen it from Gen G before. Spring this year, Game 4, it was the Kazakhs pick from Canyon that completely changed everything in that series. Gen G are never counted out until that bell rings, and this is where they have to find that magic once more.
Beautifully said. Let's head over to our casters.
Thank you so much, Dagda. I think that's such a good point because I want to give everyone some faith that we could be going to a Game 5, right? Like, that's the main thing, and we're already straight into draft as the Kalista and the Xayah are still going to be banned away, and I saw that little look on your face there, Chronicler. I'm also not that psyched about it. I want to see a little bit more adaptation. I don't know whether the Xayah is a necessary ban.
And given Guma's performance and how comfortable he is on the champion, it makes sense, but I'm a big believer in when you see a champion just consistently be an issue, and in this case, it's the Ashe. Even in the games where Ashe wasn't able to actually get over the line, I feel like the pick has just felt so strong. It gives so much utility while also being a lane bully.
Well, now they can first pick it. Now T1 is saying, hey, by the way, do you want to ban Aurora or do you want to ban Ashe? And because Gen G is going to take one of them, the Aurora comes through, you imagine the Ashe is the first pick. T1 now have the choice around, do they want to grab themselves the Vi? It's proven to be very effective, but also what is their answer into it? Because the truth is, Guma hasn't really shown something like an Ezreal, right? This is not something that he goes to, which we've seen as a typical answer at Worlds. Jhin would be his likely response. Something like the Caitlyn would be his usual. Maybe a Draven could come through. But given the current meta, with all the presence of the lane swaps, I'm not sure how effective they are.
And I was going to say that this is something that we've seen come out sparingly this Worlds. This was Gumayusi's best champion
Varus,
for a long time. His Varus steals Barons, steals hearts. It's incredible. As Oner just playing with ours just a little bit there with the hover of the Kindred. We'll see whether he does go back to that one as he's hovering over quite a few options. The Skarner could be a great pick away, and he is going to lock that one in.
Is this a, in case of emergency, pick Canyon Nidalee situation again? We saw it come up against
Oh, he's got a
FlyQuest.
smile
I'm
on his
seeing
face.
a very slight smile on that man's face, and this was the pick that brought Gen G to Silver Scrapes. He single-handedly,
God.
and they're just running it back. They were here last week.
Yep, we've got some tape of this one, you know? Let's see what the answer is going to be from T1, though, because, of course, they know exactly what to expect.
I mean, Canyon's Nidalee. What else is there really to say? I mean, you're 100% right. Jax would be a great pick. It looks like that's going to be the lock-in for T1. Double AD carry comps. Jax loves those. His E gets so much value out of it. He offers so much zone control. But, I mean, game 4, backs against the wall. The Nidalee comes through. The ban of the Cassante is so crucial for Kiin. I think that it's such a safe top lane pick, just in general, but in Kiin's hands, it's also a devastating carry threat that you don't want to run the risk of him getting. Now, on the side of Gen G, they can look to pinch the mid lane pool a little bit more. Maybe they remove the Ahri for themselves. No, they're actually targeting Keria. They're really trying to limit the options that this bot lane has.
Yeah, playmaking for Keria, I think, is a great thing to target, especially when Keria is coming off a win. Because when he has that mojo, when he's feeling it, it can be very scary to go up against this guy when he has confidence, as Braum is going to be taken away from
Really
Lehends.
good. And also from Keria. Actually really like that ban there from T1. What feels most likely here is the R4 on Renata, trying to get a strong 2v2 and play through that. But it does open up a Lehends counter pick.
What about
That's something that I don't think they necessarily want to go towards. And they're going to save the Keria counter pick, and this shouldn't come as a surprise. But I do worry about the Ahri, as we have seen it be pretty hit or miss, but it's FLICKR, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
It's Ahri. Like, his Ahri has been very good at this World Championship, and I think that it makes it, like, this is a very Gen G-esque comp in the side of T1.
It is.
Meanwhile, Gen G, the Poppy, I think, offers a decent amount of value here, both into the Ahri and into the Jax.
Playing towards Kiin's team fighting as well, I think, is a really good idea in this game, because I think that when Kiin is under pressure, that's what he plays towards, not necessarily smashing lane.
They need a Leona or a Rel right now. They need some engage to come through from Gen G. I think T1 might be thinking about a Rakan, which is why they saved the pick for later as well, because crucially, the Maokai is often used as a response, but...
Oh, is he cooking?
He's going to lock in the Maokai anyway.
Oh, keeping it a flex.
You're right.
So they don't know what's going to go where, and it also locks out the Rakan pick. The main reason why we see this Maokai is because it is so strong into the Rakan.
Yeah,
and now there's Poppy as well.
Yeah. So actually creates a bit of an awkward scenario. Normally this is where we would go Bart, particularly into the immobile AD carry of the Ashe.
Yeah.
Well, it's not available.
Is it a Pyke angle?
Oh, that'd be fun. I don't know whether it is. That would certainly be... Oh, okay, yeah,
it's a Pyke angle.
It's a Pyke angle.
It's always a Pyke angle.
For Keria it is. Those bone skewers are targeted for this guy. Watching that series blew my mind. Vadius, I'm so glad that you had your finger on the pulse there, because this could be fireworks on the bottom side of the map. Gen G, certainly, with some experimentation here. Right now, it looks like the Maokai is going to be going into the support position, and Kiin will be taking the Poppy into the Jax on the top side. In the LCK, this is seen as a really good matchup for the Poppy, and so something that Kiin has played around before.
I mean, I think even internationally, we've seen it do wonders into the Jax matchup as well, especially if you're confident on the Poppy. The crucial thing for me is when playing Ashe, you need lane prio. Sorry, Ashe. When you're playing with Nidalee, you need that lane prio. We've seen Canyon succeed so well at playing around the strength and push of his lanes to put pressure on the enemy jungle. And like, it is the way in which old school Damwon thrived. The laners play for Canyon. I mean, me and Quickshot back in the day used to have a thing called Ring the Beryl, where Beryl would cover for lanes to help them push out waves so the Canyon could keep farming, right? This is a champion synonymous with this jungler, and it's so crucial that his laners give him the prio to play the champion to perfection and allow him to thrive in the ways that he so often does.
And we're all hoping it goes to game number 5,
100%.
but if this doesn't work for Gen G, then I don't know what would have, right? I know that Tristana not in the spot that she was before, but you somehow get both Tristana and Maokai, which was a combo that was basically never be allowed to play, while also getting Canyon Nidalee.
That is definitely an incredible thing. However, this is T1 at Worlds, and T1 with match point moving into this game number 4. A date with BLG next week in London is what's on the line, and there is only one step left to take.
And they are double Halo Bladesing.
God, of course
We
they are.
remember from spring 2023, when you see those keystones, the enemy bot lane is about to have a bad time.
Something's going down. Something
They
is definitely going
want
down.
to fight. It's just unbelievable that T1's even in this position. I feel like that so many fans that only watch internationally think this is just another year for T1.
Yeah,
Like last year, reigning world champions here in the semifinals at match point. Of course, why wouldn't they be here? They were also top 3 at MSI.
Well, the thing that's ridiculous as well is that last year, if you look at summer, it ain't a great time for T1 either. So maybe fans are just like, oh yeah, we're used to this.
Yeah.
You just have a little bit of a lull before you come back up again. It's like the swell of the ocean.
Spot him with the sweeper. I think they
Yeah.
spotted each other.
Information now going over as Bonus is going to pull Peyz in. He has to flash, and T1 outplay them.
The invaders come through from Gen G though. Canyon going to be able to steal away this buff. We'll see how Oner responds as we get standard matchups. Now this bot lane I feel is very volatile.
Yeah.
Ashe lanes typically give you a lot of control and prio, but Varus is a lane bully in his own right. His E gives him a lot of control over the lane in the similar way that the volley does to the Ashe. Meanwhile in the mid lane, Chovy leveraging his pro. We talked about how important that is for the Nidalee. As the blue is taken away, Canyon returns to his side of the jungle.
I think we're going to need to see another Chovying performance. Much like we saw in Game 5 against FlyQuest on his Smolder, we're going to need to see absolute domination, stay ahead of the curve, make sure that these items come in at exactly the right times. All right, Keria finding the Bone Skewer onto Lehends. That's another flash. They'll take that, and this is a T1 bottom lane that, yes, we've always known that they're capable of, but we haven't really seen this level of aggression for a long time.
Peyz even went for Halo Blades himself just to try and be able to trade a little bit better, stack up that passive early. The main thing for Gen G is that the bottom lane is still alive and relatively healthy. We also have Oner on the opposite side of the map, and Canyon is starting, or should be able to build a lead once the actual FLICKR comes through because he got that early buff on in Oner's jungle.
Oner, I think, actually expected his Grom to also be taken. He took the walls, then path back up towards the top side, which is the most frustrating thing for T1. Because you look at that bot lane matchup and we're like, Oner, dive now, please dive. But because of his pathing, it's hard for him to actually be in a position to really set that up. He's setting his sights on mid after FLICKR got a really nice trade onto Chovy.
Yeah, Oner now driving in, looking for Chovy, just gets the flash. I think the rocket jump must have been on cooldown. And Oner is just going to take that explosive charge and be absolutely fine. Meanwhile, setting up for a potential dive is another max range Bone Skewer going to connect from Keria. This guy, it's targeted, right?
That's now 3 flashes down, and for a pick as volatile as Pyke, that is a playground. You have so many lanes to play through. Oner, will Canyon hold off? They are going to know with the saplings. Canyon, I think, is going to try and play through the fog, not try and show himself.
Yeah, Keria moving on over. Was hit by one of the traps there, so information was given as to his whereabouts, and they will just back away.
If that back completes, that bot lane is not surviving.
So momentum-wise, you feel like everything's going the way of T1. The bot lane 2 versus 2 is winning out on the skirmishes. They got both the flashes. In the mid lane, FLICKR out-trading Chovy. I mean, not resulting in a huge CS lead, but still going well overall. What's crucial to remember is that Canyon is continuing to farm. Canyon's Nidalee is not terrifying within the first 4 minutes of the game, but for every minute that goes by, this champion will continue to get stronger. Kiin in the top lane matchup continues to do well. It's a tough matchup for the Jacks as well. And so Gen G definitely don't have to be too terrified, even though the bot isn't going the way that they would like.
I'm also wondering if Canyon thought that Oner took his blue, because his blue has actually been up since the start of the game, because they read the early play from, because Keria caught Peyz, right? So I assume Canyon made the read. I figured when he went to his Gromp, he would have seen it, but Kiin.
Oh yeah, there's another Bone Skewer being charged up. First one that he's going to miss outright. And Kiin will survive.
Ice cold.
Yeah, I like that. Just continuing to walk. It's the continue to walk strategy, one that we haven't seen for quite a while. No jukes abound.
And Chronicle has been talking about this, the impact of the supports, right? We saw it from Keria Game 1, Game 2, we saw Lehends very active on the map. Game 3, I think both supports were trying to make plays around the map, but with Keria kind of just finding those advantages because T1 was finding advantages. But now Keria is on a champion that has so much agency, but his AD carry is low.
Oh yeah, Gumayusi in a lot of trouble. Does have to use that cleanse. Peyz going to take some damage back though, as, yeah, that's a decent trade.
Remember
Still,
they did
summon a spell advantage.
He did do that thing last year.
Yeah, I remember that thing.
Outplayed.
I was about to say they did buff the lethality virus a little bit more, and as you rightly said, this man has a bit of a history on this champion.
I'm actually surprised it hasn't come out more this Worlds, to be perfectly honest. I think it's in a decent position, especially in the hands of players like Gumayusi, who are so incredibly good at it.
We talked about it on the way here, didn't we, Atlas?
Yeah.
Where, like, the mobility and how, like, in the meta it feels it can be difficult to play, but in a position like this...
Yeah, FLICKR looking for Canyon, trying to find that opportunity, scaring him with where this shot might go. Point blank, the charge, the stun, but the knockback with the monster shot is not enough, and first blood goes to FLICKR's Ahri, and it's FLICKR's Ahri. That's the biggest thing here, because Ahri has been such a curse for so many teams. We actually have the stats here for both FLICKR and Chovy, and it is a different story when it's the unkillable Demon King that has it. As another charm is going to get it. Gumayusi executes. Lehends, they do try and even out the fight as FLICKR is evicted, but T1 is still standing their ground. A great start for the defending world champions as Gen.G do manage to get back some control of this grub pit. And I believe for the very first time, we're going to trade a couple of grubs instead of just taking 3.
That's such a hefty prize, though. Lehends gets blown up, but it's the kill on Canyon in particular. That is the biggest thing here. Early on, getting taken out. FLICKR further accelerated than Chovy on a nerf Tristana. Not able to find the impact as... this couldn't be a better time for this graphic to come up.
No, exactly right. Here with match point in hand, FLICKR on a champion that he's been synonymous with for a very long time. There's quite a few of those, of course.
Yeah,
sure. Orianna, Azir, Ryze, like
but this one has a special
skin. A pretty good one. This one does have a special skin. LeBlanc also has a special skin, and the win rates for both his LeBlanc and his Ahri are about equally ridiculous.
So world skin aren't special anymore?
Yeah, I mean, they're all special. I was just saying that there's a lot of special.
Extra special, okay?
When everything's special, you have to sort of redefine where it lies, you know?
Now, Gen.G have a stacked wave on the top side. T1 have read the play effectively. FLICKR's on the rotation. Keria.
Yeah, can he charge it? He does find a knockback onto Peyz. There's a crash into the wall as well. Lehends just caught out and explodes. Oner's going to grab kill credit for that one, and T1 seem to do no wrong.
It's an aftershock that ends up picking up the kill as Zeus is pushing on the bottom side of the map. 3 kills for T1. And we talked about the momentum earlier, but it feels like that this train just continues to ride in the way of T1's victory.
And Lehends, that was a journey he did not want to take. Trying to punish Keria, but we have seen this, I think, with a lot of the jungle Maokais. You learn the lesson pretty quickly. If the enemy champion has a dash, do not just W in. Did it there, gets very, very heavily punished, and now we already have a 1.5K gold lead here for T1, only 8.5 minutes in.
You wouldn't think, watching this series, that Gen.G have been the father of T1 for so long in their domestic history. Because Worlds T1 is just a different beast. They are the only team in the world where the plot line truly seems to be unbreakable.
Yeah, the script really just seems, like, as much as you talk about it, it still seems infallible. As, all right, looking for a bit of an opportunity towards Gumayusi, but he does the walk strat, moves away. Keria will be able to move back up again, trying to dodge vision as he does get back up there, but is going to be spotted on the edge of that ward. So full information does go on over. So moving into a state of slightly less action as we look towards maybe a dragon take. Of course, that hasn't been looked at just yet. Still 10 minutes into the game, would be a relatively late one.
And one thing to do, keep in mind, is that this game still feels less explosive than the previous Pyke game we saw. And T1 did have some issues closing that one out.
They
Pyke,
did.
As good as Pyke is, and for as long as we've seen Keria play this is type of the game state that you want, and I think we need to see more objectives, right? Like, I think the gold alone is nice, but I want to see dragons being taken early, and I want to see that Rift Herald take down that mid lane, because the moment that control of the map is ceded and vision starts to drop, that's when the Pyke feels unpunishable.
And I also think that this whole series has been about who can play the game plan that they wanted to play coming out of the draft. And I don't think that either team has been denied just yet.
in the shellackings that we had games 2 and 3, it's because Gen G and T1 both enabled their win conditions so incredibly well. This time around, we haven't quite seen that happen just yet. Still an opportunity for Gen G to try and turn the tides of this one with moving Chovy into side lanes, obliterating these turrets and creating leads that way.
The only problem for Gen G right now is they're not in a great position for grubs. They have just secured the Dragon, which is a nice pickup for sure. However, on the top side of the map is T1's bot lane. Zeus does have the TP available. I'm pretty sure he has it available at the very least in a few seconds. So this is going to be a difficult objective to contest, meaning that 4 grubs will go in the favor of T1.
Don't let it go. No possible contest, and a Nidalee composition that isn't able to snowball early objectives.
And a Tristana composition that doesn't get a decent amount of grubs.
Yep, quite rough, and there is vision. Gen G obviously knew that this was happening.
Oh, Keria looking for a bone skewer on his on Kiin there towards the top side.
Canyon pathing back towards top, ready for a potential dive. Knows that Kiin needs to catch this wave, and he's working with Chovy to clear out some vision. Nice spear connects. We're going to be saying that a lot this game, I feel.
Yep.
We'll see how impactful those spears end up being, though, as now these neutral objectives fall away from the Rift. We turn back to a neutral game state, and these teams turn their attention towards the remaining plates. 2.5 minutes remaining until those fall off completely, and you're going to be seeing teams cross-map. Look to try and secure as many of these as possible to funnel that early gold injection to get ready for those first items. As you can see, Malignance and Heartsteel already completed for FLICKR and Oner.
And it's so interesting thinking about where team fights are going to go later on in the game, because I feel like any time a Poppy exists, any team fight can go towards the Poppy team if that ultimate is going to be used effectively, especially when it's, you know, say Oner gets an amazing ultimate and then gets just Poppy ulted away, and then, you know, if it's a 3-man ulti, he just dies. That could be kind of funny. Certainly some interactions that could work out there, but it really does change the tide of how this game is going to work.
There's also a lot of champions on T1 that rely on their mobility to make plays in fights, right? Pyke is the most obvious one, but even for Ahri, it's the case is, I don't know if they really have an angle. They don't have any vision, so they don't want to risk it. 2v2 could not go their way, but the fact that the Maokai, even with Lehends having a really rough performance so far, in team fights, in theory, should be able to do something like, look at the game state, look at the map state. Keria is everywhere. Peyz just keeps having to drop waves. Oner's looking for a possible punish now, and reinforcement on the way. I don't know if they're in time.
Flash has to come out because those Chains of Corruptions would have just killed Peyz, especially with a Scorpion making his way in. Lehends a little bit late to defend the summoner spell of his lane partner. Still, just plates going over for T1. As, man, that bone skewer very, very close to lopping down the tree. That's what you do, right? You lop down trees?
Yeah, it's correct, actually. That's the perfect terminology.
Sure.
Herald, going to be the next objective that lobbing will be commencing. We'll see who gets that objective, as right now the T1 members are resetting. Vision needs to be replenished, gold needs to be spent. Gen G going to push out these waves. We'll give them initial access to the topside river, but it means that they haven't had that opportunity to base, spend some gold, and look at those items between the 280 carries. No Blade of the Ruin King completed yet for Peyz, or even Static Shiv rather, I should say. And we'll see what direction he goes as
yeah, and getting Gumayusi onto that single item before Peyz gets there as well. We know what this guy can do with his Varus. He is just exceptionally strong on this pick, as Keria continuing to be annoying. And like you were saying, this guy is pretty good on Varus, as we can see.
He's somewhat familiar, yes.
Yeah, somewhat.
This feels like a Hail Mary here for Gen G. If they lose
can't
this
start
fight,
a Baron, though, because Gumayusi's on Varus, like we were talking about. You can't do that. We're talking about plot armor. I mean, that's to bridge too far, as now Oner is just trying to bully them out of the area.
Baker's actually gone back to base. He does have the TP available. He's going to commit it now to the top tower.
Might even be able to grab an outer before he makes that flank happen.
This is it.
Should be able to lock it in as Kiin gets in there before the arrow does come down. Slightly mistimed, but yeah, Kiin was already softened up. And you can see Zeus makes his way into the mid lane. They are taking control of the lanes as Gen G are committing onto this Rift Herald. Chains of Corruption going to connect onto Lehends. He's trying to go the ulti, but he's just dead. There's nothing he can do, but Kiin gets rid of 2, and now Baker, he's able to dance his way out. Keria, he's burning, but he should be absolutely fine. Regens that health because he's out of vision, and Chovy still in a little bit of trouble. Zay's going to take a mid lane out of turret at the same time. They take the Rift Herald, but at what cost?
Way too much cost. They give up 2 turrets. A kill goes over again. And the Herald alone is never going to be able to recuperate all that loss.
It's a devastating position for Gen.G to be in. The lane economy snapshot represents the difference in gold right now.
I would say there's an economic advantage for T1.
That there is. And T1, they do sacrifice the Herald. It was an awkward position for them to really get in because of the Maokai ultimate. But they secured the top tower, they secured the mid tower. Honestly, T1 was a little greedy even trying to contest that because they committed both top and mid to securing those outer towers. They got level 11, and then I thought they were trying to collapse. But of course, getting a pick is still worth it after securing those objectives. Second dragon of the game will go towards T1, equalizing that up. But the gold difference is the most crucial thing.
Oh God, another one! We got the big souls in this series, and also this means that we've got Hex Gates, so teams can fight a whole lot more than they otherwise would. Also gives you a little bit of leeway in your movement around the map as well. Can certainly feel good to try and snowball things further forward.
I also have to apologize, my AD carry animation, Kraken Slayer, secured for Peyz. Going to be the first item, a valuable first item, of course, the additional attack speed, but it still doesn't solve the problem of into this Jax. We've already seen how AD carries fare when playing into this in Game 2, when T1 tried to hand the double AD carry into the Jax. But the presence that Zeus is going to be providing in these fights is going to make it very difficult for Chovy and Peyz to play optimally.
Oh man, T1 going to be able to clean up the last remaining outer turret here as well. FLICKR going to claim credit for that one on Mid Ahri. Now looking for a back angle. Is he going... Interesting itemization here, a little bit of a stretch away from what we have seen otherwise as the Lichbane does come through. This is something that used to be in vogue a lot, but I think a lot of players have moved away from it towards the Liandry's instead. But FLICKR has really liked Lichbane for a little bit of extra side lane power.
And I know we've mentioned it a lot as a hold that thought Lehends might be in trouble again, but looks like he's going to be okay. Although Guma...
Oh, manages to catch him on the juke, and he explodes one more! Oner's like, all right, let's just turn away. We are not required.
Lehends, 0-7 in the last game, 0-4 in this one. Just not able to be where he needs to be, but I want to hone in on T1's performance, because this team was, and if you experienced it, you'll know, but the team that played against KT could not be further away. And I know they do it every year, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it is such a transformation, because it wasn't just the meta, right? It was also the cohesion of the members, the confidence.
I mean, remember that in a world where there is no 4th seed, T1 isn't here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just Damwon takes their spot, or D plus Keria, my apologies. Yep. But the addition of that 4th seed, allowing T1 to be here, for them to be in this position. In the past, they were denied that when they did have those slumps. They didn't make it to the World Championship, but they are an organization, and that man in the mid lane is a player that has never missed a semi-final.
And also, if they manage to win here this year, it's 2 4th seeds from the LCK winning in the last 3 years. That's kind of insane. That's even a thing we can talk about.
You guys need to stop.
We are getting a bit ahead of ourselves. We are definitely getting ahead of ourselves. T1 fans are definitely getting nervous. I apologize. I know I'm like not even allowed to tweet about this team anymore, if you know that.
But the
as
point
soon as I
is,
say anything positive, they lose.
The reality is that the position that they're even in is already in and of itself ridiculous, considering the path that they took to get here. Which is why their performance right now should be reveled, given how well they've been able to level up. Now, as you rightly said, 5-0 is the score, the lead that they have. 5K is the gold lead. Baron spawns in 50 seconds. Dragon in 1:50. Gen.G still have elements. They still have tools to turn the game around. It all comes down to whether or not they can punish T1 for their mistakes, and if they can find a good angle to turn these fights in their favor.
And Gen.G have been pushed many times this year. TES brought them to 5 games at MSI after a 2-0 lead. They were able to persevere.
Oh, FLICKR looking for the charm, doesn't get it. On to Canyon there, but gets the true damage on that Orbit Deception. As Lehends allowed to drive once again. I don't know about it as he gets pulled back immediately, but he's able to absorb a lot of it still. The answering impale is so good. The arrow is going to connect onto the backline, onto Keria to deny him bone skewering anyone forward. And Gen.G, I mean, it was dangerous, but they get out of there after the charge, just not earning that much.
A very tense back and forth as T1 is able to protect their mid-tier 1. Gen.G, the idea was pretty promising there. The Ashe arrow didn't actually connect onto the Skarner. If it had slightly further away from the tower, that could have been an opportunity for Gen.G at the very least to get a pick. But it connects onto Keria on the back line, which they really couldn't follow up on. Ultimately, though, no one ends up dropping. Gen.G have good setup for this top tower, but the TP is committed. Can they dive?
We'll see. It's going to be a fair bit of damage onto this one. Spear is going to be coming out perfectly. There's the twisted advance. The charm goes wide. Faker's dead. That is going to be Canyon taking him down, but it's now Zeus trying to be the hero. He catches Canyon with the counter-strike stun, and he's under the wrong turret. Lehends going to go down for the 5th time, and it's a double for the other solo laner. They may have got Faker, but this is what he does. He baits them into death, and it's Baron started for T1.
Every T1 fan has seen this one before. You think you catch Faker in the side lane, and Gen.G, they know they can't contest this Baron. They're just TPing to mid to try and get something in return.
Gen.G just wanted the tower. Faker TP's in. They sit there and say to themselves, this should be an easy pick. His ulti wasn't off cooldown, but the collapse was crucial. Gen.G, I don't think you can do this dragon. They're going to start it, but the collapse is coming through. Faker's back out onto the map. Zeus as well.
All right. Gen.G do manage to make their way back out, as Kiin also trying to get back. But man, this is only the start of the devastation. We've got 2.5 minutes of T1 with Baron. They're going to start by trying to take down this dragon. With the resets coming through from Gen.G, there's not going to be an opportunity. Gumayusi coming on over will start to make short work of it. 2 items for this lethality Varus. T1 really just have Gen.G exactly where they want them. This is such a change from what we saw in this exact matchup in spring of this year, but that was a very different Gen.G. That was a Gen.G that looked impossible to take down. They took 2 games then. They're looking to only miss 1 in this series if things continue going the way they're going. Gen.G with opportunities to try and create miracles, but it's looking like they're going to need exactly that. They want to make their way back into this one. Only a 4,000 gold lead. Still looking pretty rough.
I mean, worlds aside, the fact that T1 is even getting revenge for a rivalry that has been so Gen.G favored domestically in and of itself is impressive. As we look back at the dive, the idea, I mean, it makes so much sense from Gen.G. Dive onto Faker. He's an easy pick. Even if the TP comes through, we can turn it. But they don't expect Oner to collapse this quickly as well. A beautiful flash from Zeus to get that stun for Canyon. He leaves the tower to finish off the kill, and they convert it onto Lehends as well.
Canyon actually, I think, got aggro because of the Leandries. So because he hit the perfect spear to set up the initial damage, because there was a wave, not a big one, but would have been enough, but as a result takes so much damage. Baron still here for another minute. Gen.G just desperately clinging on to their world's dreams.
Steadfast presence now on cooldown for a little while as T1 look to set up a 5-man siege on this inner turret. At 23 minutes, sieging is quite difficult unless the Bone Skewer comes through. The arrow is denied by the ulti from Kiin, but now with only 2 stragglers here, Zeus will explode. It's Canyon that locks up the kill as Kiin dives in once again. Peyz able to take down Keria, but it's Gumayusi standing tall and taking down Kiin. Still a positive trade for Gen.G is still huge news.
Kiin actually diving in there, denied the ultimate from Keria. Otherwise, Keria maybe could have gotten the resets, but because Kiin jumped to his death, no resets for Keria. He ends up getting focus going down, and it's not enough. But think back to that previous game where Gen.G held on tenuous for so long.
T1 have shown tendencies at this World Championship to overforce. They throw the ultimate out, a beautiful response from Kiin to create a numbers advantage. They have the confidence then to turn it back as they get a kill onto Zeus, and you'll see here this play. Nicely done from Kiin to avoid the resets from Keria. He knows how dangerous that could have been. And sighs of relief as Gen.G stay fighting here in Game 4.
And Helper's not even there. I think that guy is just completely overly stressed at this point in time. I'm sure he'll be back as this game does go on, but there was a little bit of a grin on Marta's face. Coach Kim as well, not looking all doom and gloom. They are still in this. We'll see. T1... Baron has worn off. 2.5 minutes until that one's back up once again. Still a 4,000 gold lead, 5,000, something like that. Not end of the world, but 2 items now onto Chovy. 2.5 on Peyz. 1-0-1 now, actually picking up a lot of that money in the last fight. Could be huge here for Gen.G.
Death kept done here for Faker.
he's pretty strong.
He is very strong. I would argue also just now the transformation for Guma. So T1 do have an opportunity. That one Drake, not as good of a cushion as last time, but still is going to be a big difference maker for Gen G. Means that they probably should be able to get it to 3 items on their double AD carries. The issues don't stop there though, because Zeus on this Jax in a wonderful position is building towards that stopwatch as well, allowing him to play very far into the back line.
The problem I see for Gen G is this poke is a problem. And Kiin, I think it's going to be fine.
Extremely tanky.
Yeah, but the poke is a problem, and not only is it a problem, like, they don't have the best engaged tools. T1 have a lot of ways to just run away from a fight. Oner. What? Now, I don't think T1 need to be forcing this hard. Like, Dragon spawns in a minute's time, so does Baron. Oner committing his flash there, I think is a bit of a fumble, because now he doesn't have the potential play set up with his ulti later. And, like, this is a tendency we see with T1 sometimes when they have a big lead. They sometimes overforce. They did the same thing against top esports. They ended up still winning because, again, the gold lead is theirs. But they need to calm down because, as you both have already highlighted, Gen G are a patient team. They will happily weather the storm.
I want to go back to the last game as well, though, because T1 were playing very patiently, very slowly, only taking the guaranteed advantages from around the map. This feels a little bit different. Might have something to do with that Pyke being that good sidestep, but the charm is going to land here from FLICKR. That one chunks Kiin. That's those 3 items that you guys were talking about. FLICKR also starting to get some Death Note stacks put together.
One of the few tools that Gen G do have is actually Canyon's heal. Every single heal has a base heal of 240 going up to about 500. If you are chunked, that alone is not going to be enough, but it might be the mitigation that Gen G need to at least try and contest. And it looks like they are not giving over Soul Point for free.
Well, Keria is going to walk into Lehends here. Pyke so incredibly squishy. There's the teleport from Kiin. The front line will arrive. Chains of Corruption do go wide. As now Lehends, he's chunked out just a little bit, but he's going to throw his life away for a good position in a team fight. Keria on a flank angle. It is going to be Oner taking Soul Point, but can they win the fight? That's a phenomenal ultimate from Kiin, and Peyz is untouched. Still Keria explodes, pops like a balloon. Zeus has the counter-strike, but he has no friends. FLICKR dives in to try and save him. The flash of the Chovy, and it's a double kill. Peyz now standing his ground. Gumayusi can't do anything, and Gen G will ace them with Baron up and available.
Unbelievably, Gen G turned the fight in their favor. They punished the execution. Baron is alive, and Gen G say, we will not go down without a fight.
You might kill Lehends 5 times without getting punished, but that 6th one, he's got you right where he wants you, as the Baron is going to come through.
Oh man, and look, he may not have got the dragon or anything like that, but Canyon on this Nidalee, it always just seems to be something that can work out even when it's not supposed to. Late game Nidalee is not supposed to be a thing, but man, Kiin coming in as such a hero.
The ultimate from the Maokai was huge. They're coming in from all angles, but Oner dying first. The target selection is great. They're all in the dragon pit. They then turn their attention to Zeus. A reset doesn't come through. FLICKR, he's only got, well, he does get 2 charges off. He tries to collapse on a Chovy to get the reset, but then a nice flash away from Chovy. It was simply a matter of Gen G targeting the person in front of them. And with the double AD carries in a front-to-back composition, Gumayusi just doesn't have the consistent damage.
Well, Arrow going to go wide as once again, Gen G are looking for FLICKR.
Not again.
And yeah, they're just like, no. Look
at that.
We remember what happened. Yeah, how, like, what?
It's the most damage in the fight!
It is absolutely nutty. Maybe when he puts on Primal Surge, he gets credit for all of the extra attack speed that he gives his
I wish that we could watch that fight again, because I feel like there were so many things that we missed. But all that matters right now is that Canyon's level 16.
That's a 3-item Nidalee, ladies and gentlemen.
And now it's Gen G that can begin their offense. The poke from them. We talked about Gumayusi's poke. Well, now it's Canyon's turn to get a bit of revenge.
And Vedi, in the previous game, you told about the waters, you know, the feeling of, oh, what if?
Maybe it was just a game delayed.
Maybe. You were right, just a little bit early. Gen G haven't done it yet, though, because all this has done is equalize the game, right?
Oh, my God.
But look at that jump upwards. And the double AD carry now have hit their spikes.
All right, Boneskewer going to connect, but the spear does too. That is a decent impale, only onto one there as Lehends able to eat some turret shots, and he'll be okay. Man, that Primal Surge almost gave him his whole health bar back. And the siege will continue here. as Chovy getting more and more stacks into that passive as well. Level 16, and the spears are hitting one after the other. FLICKR, he wants out. He's going to kill that siege minion, and they will back away. Keria, yeah, not wanting to stick around when he is seen on vision.
The charm from FLICKR didn't actually connect, even though Oner was able to land the ultimate. The top tower is now exposed as they turn their attention to mid to try and defend. T1's base is beginning to fall apart. They still have some towers remaining, but as you rightly said, Chronicle, return to an even state, and the Dragon Soul is on the horizon.
Big thing here for T1, they didn't lose any inhibitors. So this brought Gen G back in the game, but T1 still will get the opportunity to get a straight-up 5v5 for this Dragon. And they can even afford to give it up. I don't think they will, given how this series has played out. A minute and a half until it's available. As an Elixir of Iron, thank you for pointing it out, Vetty. For Kiin, just trying to be as beefy as he can be. Look at how tanky
he is, though. Like, it's crazy. The Sundered Sky, this front line is exactly what they need. I was worried about Gen G's ability to engage, but around these neutral objectives, they're still able to find the fight. And what looked like a devastating collapse from T1, Gen G handled it so beautifully. Summoners are coming up. Maybe T1 can find an angle before that flash is back up for Chovy and Peyz, but I don't expect it. It's Gen G with control around the Dragon.
The amount of homework that they're doing as well, you can see this vision shut out. Yep, lights go off. And there is an Umbral Glaive here for Keria. They have ways to cheat vision in this game, but he's on Pyke. You can't face check anything without just popping.
Yeah, particularly into both Maokai and Poppy. Another thing is that T1 doesn't actually have great hard engage. They have really good pick, which is why the game felt so one-sided. But outside of Oner going in, or like Guma, you know, going in with an ultimate, FLICKR hitting a charm, that is a lot more telegraphed, or it puts you in a position of danger. And engaging onto Gen G is also a nightmare. Tristana is notoriously hard to collapse on. There's a Poppy and Maokai combo in the game. And there's a lot
It's fascinating how quickly the dynamic shifted, right?
It's just, it's ridiculous.
But they don't need to go for this, is what I'm saying. T1 can bide their time. I just don't think they will.
Yeah, Nature's Grasp going to come out the arrow, connecting on Oner. Chains of Corruption just try and buy some space with the flash onto FLICKR, the knock-up, and he's dead. Peyz's arrows follow him into the death chamber as the impale is decent. Oner's still alive, he's so tanky, and it's Gumayusi taking matters into his own hands. The spears go wide and the Poppy goes down. It's a double kill for the Skarner, and Chovy's still alive. There's a bit of damage, but he gets over the wall, flashes, but the Bone Skewer finds him. The shutdown for Guma and T1. They want to go to London. And Gen G trying to get the fight, but the death timers are too long. Oh, it's only Canyon versus the world here as T1 are taking down their first inhibitor of the game. They are not done yet. Nexus turrets stand between them and another final. He goes golden. He's holding onto the wave. He wants to take it down. He does. But another one is conga lining in. Lehends, he knows he just has to move it away from these Nexus turrets. And he is able to stall it out. Another teleport. FLICKR does come back. And they'll now get their time. It is Guma that's able to melt these turrets. And Gen G for the last 2 years have been the kings of Korea. But we know the world is T1's home ground.
What an incredible final game! At the brink of a comeback, Gen G's final fight is shut down. And in such poetic fashion, they catch FLICKR. He was the first to fall, but then the rest of T1 rose to the occasion and turned the fight around. Once again, T1 will return to the World Championship final.
And I was getting flashbacks, gentlemen. I thought that maybe Gen G were on that path to a Game 5, but it did not happen. T1 just said, no, you will not do it again. It is our date with Destiny. You guys, what did you think? T1 back at the World Final again.
Oh, Atlas, this team is absolutely unbelievable. I cannot believe they make it back. Well, they're making me believe, Jesus, that they're making it back to the final after coming into this World Championship as not the team we were looking at just like last year. It is an absolute enigma.
It was absolutely insane. And even then, when Faker was getting caught, I was like, this is 2017. It was Samsung who caught him in that same position on the Karma. But instead, it's a different form of T1 with different members that rally around Faker this time and pull it through to the end.
The reigning world champion will return to defend their title versus BLG now.
We'll get a chance to talk about, unfortunately, Gen.G's exit later, but I do want to first take a look at something that was crucial. He's on screen right now. Keria on the Pyke in our HyperX Reflex replay, because you were talking about you need a difference maker in a moment like this, and how many times has Keria been that?
And that's the thing, you thought it might have been Canyon on the Nidalee, but it was this Pyke pick, constantly catching out Gen.G, playing spectacularly in the early stages, roaming around every year. And I'm shocked he had this performance, because I looked at that man as he stood up from his seat, shaking, shivering. I thought it was Worlds 2022 with the way he was shaking. Like, that man put on a hell of a performance here today.
Yeah, as we see a little mental highlight reel of Keria in this game, he now is second in international performance assists. He just surpassed Xiaohu, and the amount of relief that you saw on his face. He's so, like, it's such an emotional moment for these guys. They've been through so much this year, the pressure of defending their title.
Bring it on!
Yeah.
Finn, I see you!
Guma egging on the crowd. You could just see the entire coaching staff coming out, all of the emotion behind them as well. It makes it so much sweeter to overcome the adversity they faced this summer. Again, like, to have them be able to be one of the few teams go back to back, it's them, it's only them that have been able to do this, T1 the org, back to back to defend a world championship title.
But think about how many doubts have had to be on them throughout this year.
Reckless world champion, it's a path.
Think about it, you come into summer, you barely scrape in, you go to 5 games against KT, you then, like, you get knocked out by Hanwha in playoffs, you don't even make it to finals. Everyone is thinking this is the year T1 fumble, and we've got to look at a team like Gen.G to step up and take the mantle, a team like Hanwha who were coming fresh off the heels of a first place in the LCK. But no matter what, it feels like once you get to internationals, it is T1 who will always represent the LCK and always be the team you have to take down.
That's why we predicted T1.
Exactly. Big brains
people who don't see it just don't see it. What can I say?
The magic. And World's magic is so real. I feel like we've had so many stories like this. I mean, like you say, T1 were 1 game away from not even being at this tournament at all, and now they're back into finals. We also get BLG actually getting what they asked for. Bin wanted T1.
Bin was laser focused as he was watching this game. We saw him with Elk. He's ready. He wants it.
He wants the 5 games versus Zeus. What you were saying about that magic, it's true, and it convinced me, and that's why I predicted T1 also today. Also, you know, kind of, you can never count them out at Worlds, but last week being here, seeing the way they handled TES, right? And seeing how everything here was so electric, right? Those enigmatic players stepping on stage and kind of willing everything around them. I think it's crazy, and it's going to be such a sick final.
I also, like, I really like the way they did it, right? Like, their draft adaptations have been really, really good. I think they've found stuff that's super comfortable for them, and maybe not stuff that we would necessarily expect. Having them watch them all year. Dagda, you mentioned the swap that Keria had, right? From these range supports to melee stuff like
the
Pyke.
most melee. But it does feel like that flair is back, right? It's like the T1 that they have a strong understanding of the early game. They can snowball through these leads. They have that magic in the draft where Keria can bring out a Pyke or anything that he really wants to. And it was Gen.G who just weren't able to keep pace with so much of that throughout this series.
And I love, Shocks, that the magic that you're talking about for this T1 team, it shows up in team play. It's not like, individual players, right? It is the coordination from this team, from LCK to now, is so much more on point. And in this game, you know, we're getting Bone Skewers getting picks, Charms getting picks, Guma's ultimates getting picks.
Grub Prio demolishing turrets.
Guma is going to be interviewed on stage with Lauren G. Sun in a second. So listen. Guma. I mean, what a bit of a showman also, the way he was just clapping to get them going. I think they're ready. The arena sounds ready for it. The Verizon post-game interview. The crowd wants it. Guma with Lore and Jisun.
Paris, un tonnerre d'acclamations pour vos deuxièmes finalistes, troisième fois d'affilée, T1 et Gumayusi. Gen.G les a battus 10 fois d'affilée, 10 fois d'affilée, avant qu'ils arrivent finalement à les battre aujourd'hui et se hisser une fois de plus en finale. Quel a été le facteur déterminant aujourd'hui? Gen.G beat you guys 10 times before you finally defeated them today. Tell me about it. What made it special? What made today different?
젠지가 사실은 오늘 경기 전까지 T1 상대로 10연승을 달리고 있었습니다. 오늘 어떤 점이 달라서 다른 결과가 나왔을까요?
이곳이 월즈이기 때문입니다.
Because this is Worlds.
C'est les Worlds et on sait que pendant les Worlds, T1, c'est une bête absolument différente. Mais qu'est-ce qui les rend différents? Est-ce qu'ils sentent, eux, justement, quand ils jouent ces matchs, qu'il y a quelque chose de différent? I have to follow up on this because we keep on hearing that T1 at Worlds is a different beast. Do you feel anything different when you play on the world stage that makes you pop off the way you guys did so far?
말씀하신 것처럼 T1은 정말 월즈 무대만 오면 더 특별한, 더 강력해진 모습이 나오는데요. 선수분도 스스로 월즈 경기를 치르실 때 뭔가 다른 느낌이 들기도 하나요?
개인적으로는 좀 그런 느낌이 생기는 것 같고 좀 더 게임에 집중하고 몰입할 수 있게 되는 것 같습니다.
Personally, yes. Somehow I get to focus up even more and also I kind of get into the flow state.
Ils arrivent à vraiment se mettre dans le bon mood, ils arrivent à vraiment se mettre dans le bon mood de façon générale et c'est ça qui leur donne la force d'arriver toujours à avoir les bons résultats, les résultats attendus pendant les Worlds. Et je me rappelle que quelque chose qu'il a dit l'an dernier en interview, c'était justement avant d'arriver en finale que c'était T1 qui dictait la méta aux Worlds l'an dernier. Et je me demande dans une méta aussi ouverte que celle qu'on a cette année, est-ce qu'il a un sentiment similaire? I remember that on stage last year, when you did the interview, when you reached finals, you were saying that T1 is so strong right now because you are dictating the meta. Do you have a similar feeling this year, especially given how open the meta has been at Worlds?
작년 월즈에서도 결승 진출을 확정 지으시고 무대 인터뷰에서 구마유시 선수가 T1은 월즈에서 지금 강력한 모습이 나오는 가장 큰 이유가 우리가 메타를 지배하기 때문입니다 라고 하셨는데요. 지금도 비슷한 느낌을 갖고 계신가요?
저희가 지금 메타 이해도가 가장 뛰어나다고 생각하고 지도하고 있다고 생각합니다.
I can say for sure that we have the best meta read so far and we are dictating still.
Ils ont la meilleure vision de la méta et évidemment, dès qu'il s'agit de dominer, c'est le cas de T1 et c'est encore le cas cette année pour les championnats du monde. Et je le disais au début de cette interview, c'est la troisième fois consécutive que T1 arrive en finale des Worlds, troisième fois consécutive que ce roster arrive en finale des Worlds, quelque chose qu'on n'avait jamais vu par le passé dans l'histoire de League of Legends. Il y a forcément quelque chose à dire sur cet achievement qu'ils ont réussi à faire. This is the third time in a row that you guys make Worlds Finals. Third time in a row that you make Worlds Finals with the same roster. How do you reflect on this achievement and what it means to you?
3번 연속 월즈 결승 무대에 진출하셨고요. 같은 로스터로 3번 연속입니다. 이런 성과에 대해서는 어떻게 생각하시나요?
월즈 결승이라는 게 참 프로게이머들에게 꿈의 무대인데 이 로스터로 3번이나 올 수 있음에 감사하고요. 이번에도 좀 좋은 결과 있었으면 좋겠습니다.
Worlds Finals is the dream stage for every professional player. I am very grateful that we pulled it off together on the same roster for 3 years in a row, and I hope we can have a good outcome this time as well.
Arriver en finale de championnat du monde, c'est le rêve ultime de tout joueur de League of Legends et il est vraiment heureux, honoré d'avoir réussi à faire ça justement avec les mêmes joueurs, avec le même roster et il espère justement que la semaine prochaine, il arrivera à honorer justement cet achievement, peut-être avec une victoire à nouveau. Et je me souviens quand... En interviewant Bin hier, il les attendait. Il attendait de pouvoir affronter T1 en finale des Worlds et c'est chose faite. C'est le match que nous aurons la semaine prochaine. BLG contre T1 et on sait ce que T1 arrive à faire contre la LPL. On va voir ce que Gumayusi peut en penser. When I had Bin for interview yesterday, he said that he wants to face off against you guys. He wants to defeat the world champion and bring pride to the LPL again. Do you have any message for Bin and for BLG, your opponents, for next week?
어제 이제 빈 선수가 인터뷰에서 T1을 결승에서 만나고 싶다. 월즈의 T1, 디펜딩 챔피언 T1을 잡고 또 우리 LPL에게 엄청난 그런 위상을 높여주고 싶다라고 말씀하셨는데요. 혹시 빈 선수 또는 BLG에게 전하고 싶은 말씀이 있으실까요?
제가 작년에 했던 말을 잊지 말아야 될 겁니다.
You better not forget what I told you last year.
N'oublie surtout pas ce que je t'ai dit l'an dernier. Voilà le message. Du coup, Paris, pour conclure... Je vais avoir besoin de vous pour cette dernière question. On a passé 2 semaines absolument incroyables tous ensemble. C'est notamment grâce à vous. J'ai vu tout le soutien que vous aviez apporté à T1, tout le soutien que vous avez apporté à toutes les équipes. Donc j'ai préparé un cadeau qui n'est pas que de ma part, qui est de notre part, à tous. Vous allez voir. I want to say thank you to all the fans, thank you to all the teams, but also the fans wanted to say thank you for everything you brought them. They were so hopeful and really, really looking forward to seeing you. So we have a gift. France has a gift for you. I present you a normal-sized croissant.
프랑스 팬분들이 감사의 마음을 담아 평범한 사이즈의 크로아상을 준비해봤습니다. 먹고 후기 한번 들려주시죠.
Est-ce qu'il aime bien? Do you like it?
It's good!
Et c'est fini pour nous ici. That's all first here on the Paris stage. BLG versus T1 will be au 2024 World Finals. Paris, une dernière fois pour T1 et Guma.
She's been talking about this for weeks, by the way. She said, what if I get this huge croissant to thank you?
Get a croissant that size.
I don't know, she's French. Ask her.
My head.
Best 2 interviews heading into finals
so
that we have ever had, by the way.
Ever.
We do not deserve Bin and Gumayusi. Those were both amazing.
They're both such showmen. The way he was hyping up the crowd, too, was amazing.
Isn't it crazy? Like, when you kind of think about Guma, right? You had the beginning. Sometimes he wasn't always the absolute pop-off star. Then he turned into this super, super reliable player that got them a lot of their victories, including a big part from the bot lane in Worlds last year. Then, you know, I know we laugh at the stat, but kind of the unkillable demon god over there, like the prince. But then also, and most importantly, FLICKR and the broccoli, no more. Guma and the croissant, you are my new best friend.
Everyone will get a signature food.
Cultural impact, baby.
I love the way everyone's going to be signing croissants now as they go around.
No.
But genuinely, like, Gumayusi has been the backbone for me of T1. The fact that he can so consistently just be by himself, enable Keria to open up on the map, and still get all the resources that he needs to be a mega star when it gets to these team fights is incredible. And that's why I thought he was impeccable today. He was incredible.
Admit it. You can admit it. We were going to give it to Keria, but you saw his smile on stage and you changed it
that
to
cross
Gumayusi or Upo. Oh my God. Oppo player of the series is Gumayusi. No, just kidding. We decided it beforehand, but it was hard, right? Because all these players stepped up today.
I thought that the replay was going to start with a big bite of croissant.
Maybe we can get it.
Yeah, I think like it was these kind of fights where Gumayusi was just absolutely insane. The entire time we're watching this, is like, oh my God, this is the moment Gen G turn around. But Gumayusi, his positioning was incredible, getting behind this front line. And again, it's the fact that he can be so reliable with so little investment. That's what makes him so special. There are very, very few people that can be low resource and still have the impact. There's your
and as we get the replay of this,
face.
Maybe it's fun over here. No, but I think again, it was so crucial, him on this Ashe pick, as we talked about, picks that have dictated the meta, him and Elk. I don't think you want either of them on this champion just because of what they're able to do with it in and out of team fights in terms of crucial, like, a lot of people over-focus, I think, on Ashe arrows, but both of these guys know where and when to hit based on setup from their team. I think that's really good. And then going forward, he's had such stellar performances. I cannot wait to see these two bot lanes go up against each other.
Exactly. Look across at who he's playing in Elk, and you mentioned also the Varus, very big for Guma, very big for Elk as well. So it's going to be a very fun clash.
It's going to be amazing in the O2 in London next week. I do want to, because I forgot to do it yesterday, because you do get swept up in the excitement of the winners, and rightfully so. But for Gen G, I mean, it's unbelievably heartbreaking, and you had that, I think, feeling in the back of your head, right, going into this best of 5, knowing that actually the odds are stacked in your favor, knowing that actually this should be yours. Oh my God, it's just horrible, but they just weren't good enough again at Worlds.
But I think that's it. It's when it's almost destined to be yours, that's when the pressure is on the most, and I think that's really what got to them. They had played so well all year long. You saw what they were capable of at MSI. They wanted one more trophy, but unfortunately, when push came to shove, it was that pressure that broke them. It started with FlyQuest. It now happens with T1, but genuinely it did. You could see those struggles already starting, and it was just blown open here today by T1.
Sure.
And it even started earlier with HLE in finals, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So everyone's talking about the golden road all year long for Gen G because of how good this team looks and because of winning MSI. And then you see the first pebble drop in finals versus HLE, and people are like, I still think Gen G's, better stuff. But then also here, you just feel so bad for those players getting so close and having to go up against that.
Golden Road, maybe there was no road at all.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, the road goes through T1.
Yeah, it sucks, right? And it's the typical one where it's like you get judged on your last performance when they were awesome for a lot of this year, but that's just how the cookie crumbles. I mean, and can we just, as we're about to sign off, FLICKR could win his 5th.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah. Or Bin and Knight could win their first.
Yeah. I mean, it's both are great, both good, but it can't happen together.
I mean, it's just absolutely insane that again we see T1 taking to the finals after what was not a good summer for them, what was a disappointment for the fans, but they always seem to turn on when it matters most. But BLG is absolutely no pushover, and honestly, this is such a sick finals. Like, this is going to be absolutely insane.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing is, like, BLG initially struggled at this tournament. T1 had a lot of struggles throughout the summer. These are two teams that now we're seeing ramp up in time to each other finals, and now we have Laura and the giant croissant.
I mean, yeah, you had to see it actually. That's
wait, if we have a piece of it, will we also be eligible to win the World Championship?
That's the best I can wish you.
So.
But yeah,
Laura, can you give us the lore of why you did this? Or
so basically, I saw T1 during the Swiss stage and everything, and they were telling me about French pastries, and I spent a lot of time in Korea, and I was telling them, you haven't tried real pastries until you tried French pastries. So I was like, why not bring them a normal-sized croissant?
And can we say they have some abominations of croissants over in Korea?
Oh, yeah, smashed and everything. So it was about time they discovered the real thing.
Amazing. I'm glad you joined us. Is there anything you want to say about how your home city has treated League of Legends and the players?
It's every time we have international events here, honestly, we are blessed. And I rediscover how passionate French audience can be around League of Legends. They have allegiances. They support teams, but they support League of Legends, and they wanna celebrate League of Legends together. And I hope that's what you guys felt for the past 2 weeks, because God, it's been good.
It's been so good. I almost don't want to leave, but then I think what's on the horizon, and hopefully a full 5 games of BLG versus T1. That's it. Anyone has some kind last words?
Oh no, Paris has been amazing. I'd love to hear. Thank you so much for everything. You've been amazing, Laura, in terms of welcoming us to your home city.
Yeah. Shall we do a synergized Guma reaction to the croissant? It's good, okay? In 3, 2, 1. It's good! And we are so cheesy. Oh my gosh.
We're terrible.
Yeah, we are. But I hope you enjoyed your show here from Paris. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to production. Thank you to the wonderful crowd here in Paris for everything, and the players. We'll see you next week, Saturday, the 2nd of November, in the O2 in London for BLG versus T1. Merci beaucoup. Au revoir.
Got a little bit?
That's a solo player. It's going to connect. Great impale as well, and I think Keria was there for a second, but now he is just gone. Faker able to dash back whenever he would like to, but straight into the impale. Another solo player is going to lock down Faker, and he is likely to die.
Rubs and the Herald going over the Gen G, but the second dragon of the game.
Oh, okay. He just wanders on in there. Take the Baron, and Kiin gets back into position, and now Canyon is just crashing into them. The 2-man impale as well. Oh, there's the charm that crashed down as well. It's a dead Gragas. It's going to take a little bit of time, and now Faker is caught onto Kiin, lands the shuriken, and he's going to wait for the leap strike. There's the max range Q, and that's Faker's Akalia Worlds, ladies and gentlemen. But now you can see they make their way in. The paranoia comes down. Decent little utilization of the counter-strike, but Faker's going to get on the kill off the takeover. Means Kiin is dead at the same time. It took a little while, but I think they're just going to move through and win Game 3.
Looks like it's going to be okay. Although Guma.
Oh, manages to catch him on the juke, and he explodes one more. Oner's like, all right, let's just turn away. We are not required. And Peyz is untouched. Still carrying